Hello, my darlings. Mother Raven here with a wonderful creepy tale for you. This is another one by Cheeseanonioncrisps, who write the most fabulous stories. This one is entitled The Moment Harvester. This morning, like every morning, I went out into the street with my camera, harvesting the moments in the dim early morning light. I find that early morning is the best time to take photos. Though now the days are getting shorter, I find I'm having to get up later and later. The streets are quiet at this time of day. The few people who wander the streets are stragglers, separated from the rest of the herd. For fun, I take a few shots of a lone old man walking in the morning mist, but I know as I take it that it won't work out. The man's silhouette is too fuzzy and you can't see his face. I need to be closer. No matter, he's too old anyway. The old ones usually go wrong. As I walk through the streets, my high heels click-clacking against the pavement like horses' hooves, I spot a few more likely targets. A man standing by a bus stop looks promising. His face, behind the mask, is steeped in so much misery that I wonder that he isn't openly crying. However, as I get closer, the smell of his sadness hits me. Strong, pungent, slightly stale. This isn't a unique moment in his life after all. This dull ache of barely suppressed misery is his life, and I don't harvest those. I back away quickly, struck by a superstitious fear that his pain might be catching, and keep walking. I finally catch my first victim by the river. She's sitting on a bench, gazing off over the river, so deep in her thoughts that she doesn't even notice when I quickly get a snap of her. By her clenched fists and hard expression, and the hot, bitter smell coming off her, I guess that she's angry about something. Someone has said something to her, a friend, I think, that has made her furious. Probably an ex-friend by now, then. I walk on and reach the shops. This is close to Halloween. They are already prepared, decked out in their cheap, gaudy regalia, their black and orange bunting fluttering in the breeze. There's a tub full of pumpkins outside the Tesco Express, a grinning cartoon vampire in the window of a bookshop, a small sign outside a party shop saying, "Fireworks sold here," though we were still a good fortnight away from bonfire night. I duck down an alley, and my sensitive nose is overcome by a sudden flurry of smells. Rotting food from the wheelie bins, dog poo, urine, mostly rat, but my nose detects the faint stench of human. Some drunken lad caught short on his way home from the pub, I guess. Animals. The buildings either side cast the alley into darkness, but I don't mind. My camera may be unable to see in the dark, but I've never had such difficulty. I pick my way over discarded bottles and crisp packets that rustle in the breeze. The alley lets me out into a small street lined with second-hand shops. Outside one, a plastic skeleton lounges in a deck chair, with a ratty straw hat perched on its head, and a pair of novelty sunglasses with a star-shaped frames covering its empty eye sockets. The skeleton has no nose to balance them on, so they must have stuck him on with blue tack. I walk along the street and spot a teenage girl, about 13, too young really to be out alone this time of the morning, standing in the newest shop on the row, a Poundland, and looking furtive at a bottle of pink nail polish. Probably doesn't realize she can be seen from the street. She smells of daring and of rebellion, but that scent is almost completely overshadowed by the strong stench of desperation coming off her in waves. The sound of the shutter clicking is enough to make her flinch and spin around. Excuses at the ready, but by the time she turns her head, I'm already off down the street, just too far away to have been taking a photograph of her a moment ago. She will assume she heard me taking a photo further along and will laugh at herself for being paranoid. Perhaps she'll have second thoughts. Perhaps she'll go ahead and steal it just to prove herself that she isn't scared at all. Either way, I don't really care. I've got what I need. But I wonder if the outcome will affect the photo. It's getting later now. More shops are open, and soon the streets will be filled with an ever-flowing stream of people, their scents blending until they become one stinking fog of sweat and blood and bad breath, and I'm forced to retreat to my dark room until the streets are clean again. I'm on my way back when I spot them. 2 men standing by a fountain, chatting. Seems like an ordinary enough moment. 10 a penny, not worth the film. But there's something about them. Happiness I detect, and lust, and, yes, faint, coming off in wisps, almost cloyingly sweet. The first beginnings of new love. I sigh at myself. I'm such a pessimist. It's my biggest flaw. This tendency to assume that just because a moment is happy, it isn't significant. I go to take the photo, but unfortunately, one of them spots me. Asks me what I'm doing. I feign a grin. "Sorry," I said. "You just look so happy. Do you mind me taking a photo? It's just for practice. You're not going to end up in the papers or anything." I added a slight chuckle to put them at ease. No, they don't mind. They seem amused, if anything. At the small blonde woman, I only come up to their shoulders, standing in front of them with her camera, asking them to smile. "That's an old camera," one of them says. "I think my dad had one of those. He used to let me play with it when I was a kid." He smiles at the memory. I detect freshly mown grass, mud stuck in clumps to Wellington boots, and horse droppings left in the middle of the road. Not a city boy by birth, then. I know, but I like it better than digital. There's just something about developing the photos yourself. I need to act fast. I can feel the moment dying. I lift the camera to my face, say cheese, and take the photo. I thank them for their time and leave. I stayed out too long already. When I get home, I rush to the cellar. The only room in the house that I actually use. The rest is just for show. The immaculately made bed upstairs has never been slept in. The books on the shelf in the living room are unopened. The TV has never been switched on. The food in the fridge and the cupboards just sit there till it goes off and I throw it away. The cellar is my dark room. I keep it pitch black at all times. It's not as if I need a light anyway. I take the film out of my camera and begin. One of the old men in the fog is good. I've got the contrast just right so that he's visible, but faint. It looks as if he's fading into the fog, dissipating into it. It's not what I'm looking for, but it's a good photo. Perhaps I'll sell it. The second also comes out well, but I'm disappointed. The moment can't have been as significant as I thought then. Whatever it was that made her angry, either she got over it or it was an ongoing thing. The third one I had high hopes for. Third time's the charm, as the saying goes. But it, too, comes out as an ordinary photograph. I wonder whether it would have worked out if the girl hadn't heard my camera click. It doesn't seem likely, but then how much do I actually know about this process? Not nearly enough, to be sure. I am discouraged as I start developing the last one. It looks as though I will have had a wasted morning. But no, I am lucky. It comes out perfectly, and I pin it up on my wall with the others. When I look around this room, hundreds of eyes gaze back at me, more from recent times than from the past. Cameras are so much better at capturing the moment than paintings or sketches. But a few old souls still peek out from their prisons of paper and paint. Their eyes seem to follow me around the room. Out of the corner of my eye, I sometimes seem to see them twitch. I breathe in and let the moments flow into me. Anger, joy, sadness, excitement, passionate love, poisonous hate. Their scents all blend together into a glorious perfume of emotion, so strong that I almost feel faint. This is what I live for, this smell of humanity, pure and undiluted by the other bodily smells that you have to put up with when you meet face to face. In truth, I do not need so many. A single one will usually last me a few decades before it fades completely, and I've had a few last for centuries. But what can I say? I'm an addict. The newest additions to my collection have already lost the brightness in their smiles, though luckily this does not affect their smell, and there is a look of horror in their eyes. Really, I don't know what they're complaining about. At least they're caught in a moment of love. I bet the grieving widow just below them, caught crying by her husband's grave. I followed the smell of her grief through several streets before I found her. Wouldn't mind trading places. Or the young men forever frozen in the middle of a drunken brawl on the opposite wall. 40 years old and still one of the strongest scents in my collection. Or even the toddler, my youngest victim, having the mother of all tantrums in the middle of a supermarket. I still wonder what made that moment significant. They're certainly better off than their real-life counterparts. That's the cost of my addiction. The human soul is something built up over the course of a life, made up of hundreds of interwoven, life-changing moments. If you pick one out in particular and tug on it, as I do every day, then the whole thing unravels, like a knitted jumper caught on a nail. Lots of the subjects in my photographs end up killing themselves. Others, drifters I call them, just wander off one day and never return. I even met one once, sitting on the pavement outside of Sainsbury's, scruffy and unshaven, and not even bothering to beg for change. Even if I hadn't recognized his face from the photo of him 2 or 3 years before, the very moment he learned about his wife's pregnancy, I would have known he was one of mine. I could smell his emptiness from across the street. The most unlucky ones are the ones who keep going. The ones who get up in the morning after the photo has been taken, wish their spouses a good morning, get their kids to school, go to work, meet up with their friends on the weekends, keep up to date with their favorite TV shows, never even noticing that their very soul has been unraveled, leaving them hollowed out and empty. They remind me of those little electric trains, the ones that keep on going round and round the track until their batteries run down, even though there's nobody to drive them. I don't feel guilt or regret. Let's make that clear now. This is not a written confession or a promise to do better. I will never stop taking photos. So why, you may be wondering, am I telling anyone this at all? Well, the reason is simple. Though it is impossible for me to cause a significant moment in someone's life, it is possible to provoke them. In the past, I have delivered presents, or caused minor accidents, or aided the spread of rumors. Any emotion, no matter how minor the cause, can end up becoming part of a significant moment. Fear is an emotion, So if you were reading this in an early morning when the streets are mostly clear and you are sitting somewhere where you are visible from the street, listen out for the click of a camera shutter. Any good farmer knows to guarantee a good harvest, first you have to scatter some seeds. So quoth this raven.